This week, we'll be continuing our deep dives into the oncoming group of Japanese talent set to make waves in MLB free agency. After covering the top pitcher coming from NPB last week, it's only appropriate that we cover arguably the top hitter this week. There has been a lot of discourse as to whether or not Kazuma Okamoto or Munetaka Murakami should be the more coveted Japanese bat this offseason, but there's no doubt that we've been talking about Murakami for a lot longer at this point. After becoming the youngest player ever to win an NPB Triple Crown, shattering the single-season home run record, and then playing for Team Japan and helping them win the 2023 World Baseball Classic, Munetaka Murakami has been on the wish list for many American baseball fans ever since. But with his great power comes some questionable faults as well, including a high tendency to swing and miss and weakness on the defensive side of the ball. So, with this volatile superstar, what MLB team is going to take the risk and potentially sign Munetaka Murakami to the richest Japanese position player contract ever? Well, let's find out. Ever since Munetaka Murakami's heroics in the 2023 World Baseball Classic that put him on the map with American audiences, I've noticed that a lot of people have begun to sour on Murakami because of his faults. But I think this is a classic case of so many people saying that Murakami is overrated that he has somehow become underrated. So let's talk about why Munetaka Murakami is so exciting to watch. Munetaka Murakami's biggest claim to fame is easily his 2022 season, where he broke the single-season home run record in NPB that had sat for over 60 years. This mark was previously held by the legendary Sadaharu Oh, who finished his professional career with 868 career home runs. In his MVP season at just 22 years old, Murakami clubbed 56 home runs, posted an on-base percentage of .458 and a slugging clip over 700, all of which were league-leading statistics. Across all professional leagues, it's just the 7th time a baseball player has hit over 50 home runs and won a batting title in the same year, joining a list that includes, of course, both Aaron Judge and Jimmy Fox, among others. In the midst of this historic season, Murakami became the youngest player in NPB history to reach the 200 home run plateau at just 22 years old. Not only that, he also became the youngest player in the history of the league to claim the Triple Crown, batting .318 with 134 runs batted in to go along with his absurd home run total. The thing is, that was 3 years ago, so what has Murakami done for us lately? Murakami had an injury-abridged season in 2025, yet his 22 home runs in just 56 games played was still good enough to clock into the top 5 of all hitters last season. Prior to the oblique injury that sidelined him this past year, Murakami had been a beacon of health and consistency during his NPB career. In 3 of his 8 seasons, Murakami didn't miss a single game, and from 2019 to 2024, Murakami never missed more than 3 games in a single season. Entering his age 26 season, I wouldn't place too much concern or caution into Murakami's injury proneness. Like we did with Tatsuya Imai, I think it's most prudent to take into account an NPB player's last 3 seasons when trying to gauge what their transition to MLB will be like once they sign. And for Munetaka Murakami, it's as volatile as it gets, unsurprisingly. From 2023 to 2025, no player in NPB has more home runs than Murakami's 86, with Kazuma Okamoto trailing only slightly behind. His 164 weighted runs created plus ranks 3rd among all players with at least 1,000 plate appearances in this window, this time trailing the aforementioned Okamoto. But as you can probably guess, his 28.8 strikeout percentage is tops in the league as well under this same qualifier, a full 2% of any other hitter. We'll dive into this metric a little bit later. This is paired up with his 15.9 walk rate, which places him 2nd in the league. And this paints a pretty clear picture of Munetaka Murakami's outlook as a 3 true outcome player. The thing is, Murakami bucks traditional 3 true outcome hitters by being relatively unaffected by platoon splits in this 3-year stretch. Murakami has actually been a reverse splits hitter, meaning that he hits left-handed pitching better as a left-handed hitter. He posted a 930 OPS against left-handed pitching and an 846 OPS against right-handed pitching, which are both impressive marks. What's interesting is that Murakami's zone contact rate is far higher against southpaws than against right-handed pitching, while his walk rate against right-handed pitching is far higher than left-handed pitching. From this data, we can gather that Murakami has a more aggressive approach in the traditionally difficult split and a more passive approach against the opposite, which contradicts conventional thinking when approaching platoon splits. Part of the reason why he might show some more aggression against left-handed pitching is that he was on the elite edge of bat speed in NPB as well, a statistic which has risen in analytical value greatly over the past year. While we don't have an average number of bat speed for NPB hitters, we do have max bat speed data, where Murakami's fastest swing of the 2025 season was 85.5 miles per hour, placing 7th on the overall leaderboard. While a swing of this speed isn't exactly rare in MLB, it's not exactly exactly common either, and it's good to know that Murakami's bat speed can definitely hang at the major league level. This translated to a max exit velocity of 116.5 miles per hour, which is on par with the mark set by Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso this past year. I gotta imagine these three guys will be sharing a very similar market. Overall, Murakami's batted ball profile was impressive in his 2025 shortened season. His average and max exit velocities sat well above average, as well as his average launch angle on hard hit contact, resulting in a high fly ball rate. However, Murakami's percentile rankings are extremely volatile overall. God, I've said that word a lot in this video. He sits 90th percentile or higher in fly ball rate, walk rate, isolated power, and OPS+, but he sits in the 10th percentile or lower in his defensive value, swinging strike, and zone contact ratings. But to hone in on one of those percentile rankings specifically, I think something that gets lost in the cracks unfairly when discussing Munetaka Murakami is his efficiency in drawing walks, because plate discipline is one of the most transferable stats from NPB to MLB. As it stands, Munetaka Murakami has a career walk rate of 16.2%, which actually ranks in the top 10 of NPB's all-time list among qualified hitters. If you exclude players that played prior to 1950, Munetaka Murakami's walk rate is a top 5 all-time mark. I wanted to note this plate discipline tool because this is the same tool that attracted many organizations to Seiya Suzuki when he was first posted as well. Suzuki had a .414 career on-base percentage in Japan, which has translated to a .354 on-base percentage through his first 3 MLB seasons. That might sound like a steep drop-off, but it was also a top 20 mark among all qualified hitters in that window. Murakami does have a lower career OBP at .394, but his walk rate of 16.3% is right on par with Seiya Suzuki's mark of 15.8% that Suzuki registered from 2019 to 2021 in NPB. So if you couldn't tell already, there's a lot to love about Munetaka Murakami. He hits the absolute crap out of the baseball, he takes walks with great efficiency, he's won a Japan series, he's won 2 MVP awards, he's won the World Baseball Classic, and there's a ton of dimension to his batted ball profile. But there are question marks like there would be with any other Japanese superstar signing overseas. Before we continue with today's profile, I gotta shout out the DraftKings Casino for sponsoring today's video. Play your favorite real money casino games like roulette, blackjack, slots, and more right from your phone anytime, anywhere. You can sign up today using promo code JMSports so that they know we sent you. DK Casino is safe, secure, and reliable, and right now all DK Casino players can play for free for a chance to win up to $5,000 in casino credits every day. Don't miss your chance to claim these free daily login rewards. Download their app right now, and thank you to DK Casino for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the Murakami profile. These question marks mainly revolve around 2 key issues: his propensity to swing and miss, and his lack of a true defensive position. The only thing more discussed about Munetaka Murakami than his elite power is his high strikeout totals and his struggles with velocity, and this comes with good reason. Murakami's strikeout rate has cleared 28% in each of his last 3 seasons, striking out more than any qualified player in both 2023 and 2024. Through 8 seasons in the NPB, the infielder has a strikeout rate of 31.3%, a number that would have been the 5th worst strikeout rate in MLB last season. But this isn't to say that a high strikeout rate player can't be successful. Some of the strikeout rates that are similar to Murakami's are that of Nick Kurtz, James Wood, and Riley Green, all of whom were superstars in MLB last season. According to an in-depth report from Yuri Kawasawa of World Baseball, Murakami posted a 79% in-zone contact rate and kept his whiff rate below 30% from 2020 to 2022. This was slightly worse than league average, but fairly typical numbers for a modern slugger. However, from 2023 to 2024, his in-zone contact rate has dipped 5% down to 74%, and his whiff rate has soared to 36%, which both rank last among qualified NPB hitters in that span. This is a scary negative trend, and definitely hurts his credibility as a consistent hitter. There's also been a lot discussed about fastball velocity when it comes to Murakami, but I am gonna hold my breath on this, mainly because there's just not a lot of pitchers in NPB that can throw as hard as the average velocity in MLB. I have to imagine that a hitter of Murakami's talents can adjust to major league velocity with enough reps here, and while that take might be a little bit reductive, I also think it's way too much to read into very small sample sizes of Murakami's struggles against high velocity in NPB. What I think definitely deserves to be read into more is the matter of his defense, which has always been an issue for Munetaka Murakami. This past season, he ranked in the 7th percentile of range and defensive value. Drafted initially as a catcher and eventually transitioning to a third baseman, he's never truly had a position stick at the professional level and projects to be an everyday first baseman, or more realistically in my opinion, a primary designated hitter. The lack of versatility obviously hurts Murakami's value and could place a team in the situation that the Boston Red Sox find themselves in with Masataka Yoshida currently. However, Murakami's offensive prowess may still be enough for teams to shy away from those perceived flaws and pursue the Japanese superstar regardless. Before I dive into contract values and predictions, I first want to highlight this chart made by fellow content creator Yaku Cosmopolitan that I mostly agree with. The chart outlines player comparisons for what we can expect in Munetaka Murakami's outcome as an MLB hitter. On the lower end of things, if Munetaka Murakami's strikeout woes and below average defense become more of his identity than his raw power, he'll likely end up a similar story to that of Yoshi Tsutsugo, who is back in NPB after his brief stint in MLB. Tsutsugo had tremendous power, but with a strikeout rate near 27% and a full season's worth of MLB plate appearances, plus no real position on the diamond, his stint in the United States lasted only 3 years. Another good example of this, in my opinion, is Byung-ho Park, who put together consecutive 50 home run seasons in the KBO before signing on with the Minnesota Twins in the mid-2010s. In MLB, Park hit under 200 and struck out in nearly a third of his at-bats as a primary designated hitter. As soon as he returned to KBO after 2016, he immediately began producing at an elite level again. Then there's the more average outcomes that we can expect from Murakami, comparing him to players like Joey Gallo or Chris Davis, which are 3 true outcome players. And you can expect him to be near the top of the leaderboards in both strikeouts and home runs. The question then becomes, is the contract worth it for whatever MLB team signs Murakami? Because players like Joey Gallo, Chris Davis, and Pedro Alvarez had terrific seasons in their MLB careers. Then there's the best possible outcomes, which would have him drawing comparisons to players like Rafael Devers. I think you can certainly dream of this outcome, where Murakami is a yearly 30 home run bat with consistency, and where his plate discipline translates very well to the MLB level, to the point where it can offset his strikeout issues. But enough of the hypotheticals, here's what we know for sure. Munetaka Murakami must sign by December 22nd per his posting window, and not only that, he will come with expenses attached before you even get to what his final contract number will be. Under the current posting system, whatever team that signs Murakami will owe his Japanese team a decent bit of cash. It'll be 20% of the first $25 million, then 17.5% of the next $25 million, and then finally 15% of the value signed beyond the established $50 million. This might sound confusing, so I did a little bit of boy math to give us an example. Okay, bear with me here. Let's say that Munetaka Murakami signs an $100 million deal, just to make the math easy. The team that signs him would have to pay $5 million for the first $25 million because that's 20%. Then it would be $4.4 million on the next $25 million because that's 17.5%. Then on the remaining $50 million, it would be $7.5 million because that's 15% of $50 million. So this would result in a posting fee of roughly $17 million in addition to the $100 million owed. If he does eclipse 9 figures in this contract, he would be the first Japanese position player from the NPB specifically to ever do so. There is Jung-Hoo Lee, who earned an $113 million deal with the San Francisco Giants after his time in the KBO, but the record contracts for NPB position players who signed in MLB belong to Seiya Suzuki, who signed a 5-year $85 million deal in 2022, as well as Masataka Yoshida, who inked a 5-year deal worth $90 million in 2023. Pitchers like Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Masahiro Tanaka have blown past this threshold in the past, but for Murakami, he has a chance to make history. As for a prediction from my end, I feel like the field of teams might be a lot tighter than that of Tatsuya Imai's sweepstakes, but there's also going to be a domino effect from whatever teams miss out on Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber, because the teams in those sweepstakes could look to Murakami as a sort of plan B. I have my hunches down to 3 teams. One of those teams is the Cincinnati Reds, who have been linked to Kyle Schwarber in this year's free agency. They just made the playoffs last year with an anemic lineup that could definitely benefit from sacrificing an everyday DH role to get Murakami in the middle of things. I also have a team like the Los Angeles Angels as definitely a candidate. They have a DH spot open, they're not really in the middle of a contention window, they definitely have the capital to spend, and if nothing else, Murakami could have some time to fail at the major league level and get the reps he needs to become a more well-rounded hitter. My final team is kind of a long shot. It's the Seattle Mariners. They've signed a lot of Japanese talent in the past. I know that they they just signed Josh Naylor to a huge commitment, and Murakami kind of fills a lot of the roles that Naylor already fills, but at the same time, their DH is currently Dominic Canzone, and if they're serious about opening up this contention window, a guy like Murakami could really benefit their lineup. Also, don't read too much into this, but there was just documentation of Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Munetaka Murakami getting dinner together pretty recently, so maybe he's a Dodger. I have no idea where they would play him, but also I'm not going to doubt the Dodgers. They'd find a way and make him a superstar. But that'll do it for my profile on Munetaka Murakami. Let me know in the comments down below if you learned something. Leave a like on the video if you watch it all the way to the end. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.